Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Café Conversations, where I interview extraordinary people and just have ordinary conversations. And today my guest is Catherine Franzetti, the Director of School Nutrition for Reading Public Schools. Catherine, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Chris. Thank you.
So Catherine and I first met at Birch Meadow during the composting that they're doing over there. So if you want to just explain a little with what's going on with that.
Absolutely. So I came on board in September, and there were some very, some strong first moves that Reading wanted to make, and composting was one of them. And I was informed that Birch Meadow had volunteered to be the first piloted school to start it out. And so I met with Stephen, the principal over there, and we met with facilities and the STEM coordinator, Heather Leonard, and we came up with a plan to start composting with the 4th and 5th grade. And we paired up with Black Earth Compost, and they informed us that they come to Reading on Thursdays, so we set up our pilot to start on Wednesdays. And we started with the 4th and 5th grade composting lunch on one day a week to kind of get the muscle memory going, get the training underway, make all the mistakes that we can, and learn as we go. And from there, we'd like to expand it, hopefully either to every day or every grade same day. We're still kind of figuring out where we're going to go with that. But it started the wheels turning about how we can take it to be district-wide. Next steps being the food service department in itself. They produce most of the food waste. And there has been some legislation made in Massachusetts to limit the tonnage of food waste in our landfills. So schools particularly are a focus of this because we do generate a significant amount. So working with facilities and also the greater administration in Reading to figure out how we go about the next phase. Transportation of it away, sorting of it, who do we work with, and the whole nine. So phase 1, small. Phase 2, how does everybody do it?
So is that something you think that will be accomplished by the next school year, 3 school years? How do you
We're hoping, I'm shooting for the end of this year, being the food service department tackling full composting. In terms of all of the students doing it, we're definitely shooting for the end of next school year as we're trying to give us a little bit of window for training and just working with students. It does take a little bit longer to work with the younger kids. I think the middles and the high schools will take off pretty quickly. It's the elementary schools that we might need just a little bit more of a fine tuning in the training and maybe some more volunteers to be with us during this the lunch periods. But food service department by the end of this school year, and then hopefully by the end of next school year, all schools, all students.
Yeah, it would seem like the high school would be a massive amount of food waste, or like I'm not even sure how you would navigate. Do you have an estimate on how much?
It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
I actually don't have the actual tonnage, but it is a lot, a significant amount. You'd be surprised. And what's compostable and what's not compostable, too. So the high school is definitely the main generator because you have a larger student body eating lunch as opposed to a smaller elementary or middle. So we're actually fortunate. The new principal at Parker Middle School came over from Arlington, and they are composting in Arlington. So she's very excited to get it up and running at Parker.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question is there any other schools that are like doing this that rolled out? Like, have they been doing it for years? Is this kind of?
I know for a fact that Arlington is doing it. I believe Heather had mentioned. I believe either it's maybe Ipswich is doing it, but I know for a fact that Lexington Public Schools has been doing it for a long time. So there is a huge push right now, and I'm also we're part of a buying group for food service, groceries and such. And there's been some talk of other directors too, like, hey, what are you guys thinking? What are you doing? There's some talk in my admin about doing food composting and what is it. So there's a conversation moving for all schools, definitely in Massachusetts, particularly with the new regulation for food waste in landfills. So that's gotten everybody moving.
And can you just go over a little of what actually happens to everything once it leaves say Birch Meadow, like where it goes, like the
Sure.
I found it fascinating just hearing like the energy that gets created.
So it's funny.
That.
So I actually, I was driving to work, and on NPR they were interviewing a company called Vanguard Renewables, and they work with like the hauling of. They deal with it once it's been hauled away, and what they do is they take it and they sort it, and they put it in a aerator. And in the aerator, it creates the fertilizer. They take the fertilizer and they give it back to dairy farms. And then they've isolated the energy off of that breakdown and return that back to the grid. So I would really, looking to work in that scenario in terms of what we produce, and then also offering it to be, what I love most about Reading is that there's an educational piece and a student engagement in everything that we do. So in terms of, with the composting, teaching kids what happens to compost afterwards. Where does it go? So we're also hoping to take maybe the Black Earth compost in the spring and return it back to teaching gardens in the elementary schools and stuff like that. So Vanguard Renewables is a Massachusetts based. They work with a lot of the colleges right now, and it's a story behind that apple that you threw away, that little apple core, where does it go? And it gets returned back to the dairy farms, and they get to use it, they get to use the energy for their own electricity and then the fertilizer for their farm. So pretty cool.
So when we have snow days eventually, when they come back, does that screw with your scheduling of food? Like what happens when we have like 3 or 4 snow days? Are you like throwing food away, or what is actually going on with this?
Well, I have to say, I'm going to go with no, because the only thing that it would affect would be if you made a pre-made sandwich and they have it in the grab and go on a Monday, and we're closed on closed on Tuesday and Wednesday and reopen on Thursday. That might create a little bit of food waste. We're fortunate to have our staff come in and cook fresh every day. So there's not too much. I mean, if there was a portion of food left over the day before that they were going to repurpose that day for leftover or whatever, that would pretty much, that could affect. But for the most part, everyone's cooking fresh that morning for that day, that we're not really throwing food away from the day before if it was left over by a school snow day. The staff would be happy about a day off, really. Yeah. It's just kind of like you're a kid again when you have a snow day and you work for a school district.
I miss those days.
Yeah.
I was in school, not working for the district.
Exactly.
So what did you want to be when you grew up? There's no way you wanted to be a director of school nutrition.
I had no idea this even existed. I'll be honest, I had no idea anything about school food. And it's funny, it's funny you should ask me that, because I was thinking about it the other day, and I had this like reflection moment of how did I get here? Like what happened? But I remember I have this thing about kid food, and I don't know why we've labeled fried, really unhealthy food as kid food. So I've had this almost underlying mission to change that stigma, that kid food is just food that younger humans eat. And why do we forcing this, like if you look at like French fries and chicken tenders, we serve French fries and chicken tenders at this high school. It is not, it's an option. But why is that a kid-focused food? So I got here because I really hope to change that take that piece right out of language. And that, I got here because I believe that there's a stigma surrounding cafeteria school food. And I'm almost 20 years in the culinary field of working in kitchens and restaurants in New York and Brooklyn and the Hamptons area and a little bit in Boston. And just, there's no reason why school food should just be this afterthought. It should be, it should have a culinary focus. It should have a technique to it. It should be visually appealing. It should be nutrient dense, and it should be fun. People working behind the counter should have fun. We should play a little bit of music in the kitchen and have a little bit of fun. The kids should come through and be like, oh, wow, that's what's on the menu today. That's exciting. And I I hit Boston a couple years ago for my first day, and I had never worked in a school food scenario at all ever before. And the light inside of an elementary child's eyeballs on cucumbers. You should see how excited a kindergarten or a first grader gets about cucumbers and fresh vegetables. And I was just like, wow, like this is the impact that my life can have, and it's really awesome. And I hope I'm not speaking to too many cliches, but I really do get up I leave in the morning, and my boyfriend has 2 kids, and I say have fun at school today, and they return, have fun at school today.
Yeah.
It's fun, and and right now trying to reinvigorate the cafeteria staff to follow a recipe and take pride in what they do, because for years it's just kind of been an afterthought. So there is not a lot of culinary technique in school food. It's been a lot of break and bake, and really it's hopefully bringing a little bit of excitement and color into the school cafeteria. And there's a lot of movement right now in school food. The Chef Ann Foundation out of Colorado, Project Bread here in Massachusetts, about returning us back to scratch cooking. And we're all concerned about health and wellness. And I believe that health and wellness and education is all part of one piece. You should go to school, you should have a well-balanced meal so that you can equally be a well-balanced and engaged student. Mm-hmm. Healthy Project Bread worked really hard to get free meals for all students in Massachusetts for this school year. And you'd be surprised how many kids still go to school, and that meal in that school day is the only meal that they may have that day. And if that's the case, then every student going to school should be entitled to a healthy meal, that they have a choice in the matter. They can choose whether they want a turkey sandwich or chicken and broccoli, and as they're taught to make that choice, they get to go through that life having the skill set to make that choice. So I hope that answers the question.
I believe you covered it. When I was growing up as a kid, so back in high school, I would eat the turkey dinner. If they gave it to me right here today at half and half, I would 100% eat that. Chicken patties only with ketchup, potato puffs in those weird aluminum but not really aluminum bags. I really do I guess that's all that, and the OJ chase is really all I remember from high school.
I don't know. I can only imagine what an OJ chase would look like, or what it is. But I mean, you have those memories. Like you have that memory of your first grade teacher or your favorite teacher in middle school. But you should have those equal memories of, at Parker Middle School, Chickie makes her own meat sauce, and the kids love Chickie's meat sauce, and they have her apple crisp on Friday, and that's pretty cool, And I remember I was in Boston one day, and I was in a school in Dorchester, and this kid, I think he faked having to go to the bathroom. He had the hall pass, but I don't think he just needed to get out of the classroom for a minute. And he came down the stairs, and he craned his head around, and he stuck his head in the kitchen. He goes, "What's for breakfast today?" And I was like, that's really cool, because we were making muffins, and he could smell it through the school. And it's like, that's how school should feel. That's, if I could go back to school, I'd like to feel that.
So do you cook at home, or what is the situation?
I do.
You don't
cook
bring
at
stuff
home
with you?
No, I did. I brought the chicken pot pie home the other day. That was really good. I was like, I had a little leftovers. I was like, that's going to be good. No, I do. I cook at home. I cook at home because I grew up that way, and it's my dad cooked dinner every single day, and he packed us a school lunch every single day. And cooking, we sat down at dinner and we had our whatever he cooked. Sometimes it was great, sometimes not so great, but I've carried that over into adulthood, that I still cook a protein and a grain and a vegetable, and I make it work. Sometimes it's sushi on Friday, sometimes it's a call-in. But last night we were in a jam for what to do for dinner, and I was just like, here's something we can do in 30 minutes. And there's always something you can put together in 30 minutes. You just got to have the right tools to do so. Sometimes I don't always want to. There is those days that I'm like, I don't want to cook, but I feel better if I do.
I gotta say, seeing the drumstick, because we were there for chicken.
That's right.
Just seeing, I mean, not to knock my wife, but it just seems as if some of this food is just pretty incredible. Like just that one day, like just seeing what the kids had, and about 80% knew what to do with everything. I'd say.
Yeah,
it's a good number over there.
They were very excited day one of composting. One kid came up to me and she goes, "Are you here to help with composting?" I was like, "I am actually." He goes, "Thank you so much." And the amount of gratitude and please and thank yous that is within Reading. I mean, it's awesome. I mean, I've had even the employees of the department, of the food service department, and one woman came over to us and she was newly starting, and every student came through the line and said, good morning or thank you. And she looked at me, she goes, "They all say thank you?" I was like, "Yep." Yes. and they go, and the bell rings and they all go to class. I was like, "Yes, they do. Yes, yes." She goes, "This is great." I was like, "It is." And the kids, the participation rate speaks for itself. We've served a significant amount of more meals in September, October, and November than we did, in those 3 months the previous year. So offering those choices and changing that up and getting kids to, you eat with your eyes, right? So if it doesn't look good, you're not going to choose it. I mean, I'm the same way. If something's looking back at me and I'm kind of questionable, I'm like, yeah. But, cooking with fresh ingredients, cooking with a cleaner ingredient. The USDA is actually going through right now and reconfiguring nutrition standards and such. They're going to be a push to lessening the sugar allotted in added sugars in food. And, so we're all starting to, kind of put together that, that whole you are what you eat situation, so it should be a nice drumstick with barbecue sauce,
Absolutely.
and macaroni and cheese and some fresh broccoli. So, yeah.
So what is one item that is not on the menu that you wish you could have in school?
Oh, because of cost or because of availability?
Any one item that you think kids would enjoy that you could have on the menu that is not there.
Oh boy. Does this include things I'm planning on getting or things I cannot get?
Whatever you want to, as long as you haven't done it this year.
Okay. Oh boy, this is going to be that pause question.
Yeah.
There's just, I guess, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm right now, I'll speak for the one item. The only thing I can come up with is the one item that I'm really trying to get. And it's hard because of the quantity I'll need to order for a lesser shipping cost. And the shipping is quite significant. But there is a meatless crumble out there. It's a pea protein meatless crumble. And we sampled it at Parker Middle School, and the kids actually were very into it. So in order for me to get this in, I'm going to have to kind of team up with some other schools to kind of piggyback on potentially, hey, if we can bring in this much to our distributor, it could be a little bit more easier for everyone to get. So that's the one thing I'm troubling with. And I don't know, you'd be surprised what you can put on a school menu. People just don't, because it's either a little bit more difficult to do in terms of prep time, or I would like a little bit more detailed recipes, I'd say. If we could have more time. That would be.
Everybody wants more time.
Yeah. I would like to circle back on that question.
Well, we are at our final question.
Oh.
So we're circling back.
Okay.
So this is a two-pronged question because, as you know, I believe every school, the everyday meal item is a bagel.
The bagel
everyday
meal.
Bagel meal with some spread and all that.
Yeah.
And I remember my older daughter coming home, like certain school days, a couple years back, and that was, she would do, it was bagel meal for lunch or whatever. And now there's no more bagel meal for lunch unless you get it as as that option.
Is that a confusing thing for people?
Sometimes.
Okay. So to that point, we have daily options that are available every single day. but I think it needs to be ordered in the morning
Correct.
with that
Yeah.
teacher. So if she wanted to have bagel meal that day, she could order it in the
Oh, no,
morning.
she didn't want bagel. No, they had
Oh.
normal bagel meal for lunch.
Oh.
Well, this is before you got here. So this
Understood,
is like
understood. Okay, got it.
2 years ago kind of
Okay.
thing. And then she'd always be upset that there was like bagel meal. It was like, I think on Wednesdays they kind of did that.
Did she want something else instead of
Yes.
bagel? Ah,
Yeah.
okay,
But,
all right.
you know. So, as you can tell, Reading likes its bagels.
Love bagels, yeah,
That's
yeah.
because where
I
do you
come
get
from
your-
New York.
where
I
do you
love
get-
bagels.
Where does Reading get the bagels in the schools from?
Fantini Bakery out of Haverhill.
Out of Haverhill.
Mm-hmm.
So in Reading, we have Perfectos, Bagel World,
Yes,
and House of Bagels.
yes.
Do you have a favorite out of any of those three?
Oh boy, I like House of Bagels. Wait, hold on. Hold on a second.
On the
Nope,
border
nope,
of 95.
scratch that. It's the one across the street that has the drive-through and you're always in line for a really long
yeah.
time. That one, is that Bagel World?
That's Bagel World.
I like Bagel World. I do
You just
like
don't like the lines.
I
Nobody
don't
does.
like the lines
Yeah.
because I'm stuck in the median.
Yeah.
I've got to stay in the median until I
You
can
don't want to
pull.
be that median
I
person.
don't want to be the median person because then I have to get in. I got to get across traffic fast and then get
Mm-hmm.
into the parking lot and figure out if it's parking. But they're always. I wish they would toast the bagel just a little bit longer. Like the toasted bagel, do you have to ask for extra toasty if you want the crisp?
Probably.
Okay.
I'm
But
a less toasty kind of person.
Ah, okay. So I'm like a little bit more of a toast, and but the bagel has nice depth to it. It reminds me more of a New York style bagel, a good Brooklyn
Is that where
bagel.
you're from?
I'm originally from New York. Yeah, I grew up in a little town called Montauk, New York, and I've traveled all the way here.
Well, I am glad that you made it here.
Thank you.
So once again, that was Catherine Franzetti, the Director of School Nutrition for Reading Public Schools, on Café Conversations, where I interview extraordinary people and just have ordinary conversations about bagels, amongst other things. So Catherine, thank you for
Thank
joining
you
me. I
so
really
much.
appreciate
This was
it.
awesome. Thank you very much.
Best of luck with the school year and rolling out things in the future.
We're trying one day at a time, one single day at a time.
Thank you much.